Hi, I'm Dave Atkinson, and welcome to Life on the Straight. This installment covers the week of October 13th. It would be mostly a week of demolition. Frank's crew completed the stud wall in the garage all the way up to the ceiling. Last week I neglected to include the work done to expose the home run wiring. The circuit breaker boxes in the basement sat below the master bedroom in a wall that was slated to be framed for a new egress window, so the wiring would have to be rerouted. Thus, some sheetrock had been removed to expose the wiring. In Squim, there is a store called Around Again, which accepts construction demo cast-offs and resells them, along with lots of other stuff. Amy called and confirmed that they would accept much of the floor laminate as well as our old appliances. We also contacted Habitat for Humanity in Port Angeles to see if they would be interested in old cabinetry, doors, windows, and such, and they said they could take much of it off of our hands. Since the dump in Port Angeles charges by the pound, any old stuff that we could unload was money in our pockets, and it helped others by getting recycled into various other projects. The cast iron double sink in the kitchen was a good example. It was really heavy, but Around Again took it. On Tuesday, a big truck from Tracy's Insulation arrived, and the workers began sucking much of the blown-in insulation from the attic. A guy outside would be stitching up bags as needed to hold it all as it came out of the tube. Frank didn't think that all of the attic insulation needed to be removed, so the first time around, Tracy's insulation left about 800 square feet behind. I think the plumber and electrician later talked Frank into calling Tracy's back to finish the job, but that didn't happen during this week. By the end of Tuesday, we had a huge pile of demo cast-offs staged on the front deck awaiting pickup. I'm not sure if the crew was able to salvage the laminate flooring, which was two different types, Pergo and some other vinyl laminate in the living room and dining room area. Amy thinks that it was difficult to remove and was pretty much torn to pieces after the crew removed it, and her memory is better than mine in some areas. By week's end, a large amount of sheetrock had been removed, along with the stud walls that had separated the kitchen from the dining room and entryway areas. Portions of the ceiling sheetrock had been taken down, as the attic insulation had now mostly been sucked out. For the first time, we could visualize what it would be like to have an open floor plan where one could work in the kitchen and look out through the sunroom to the straight beyond. One thing that we were not going to miss were the in-wall heating units throughout the house. Each room had a separate thermostat, and if you didn't use a heater for months and then decided to turn it on, an odor would come out of it as it was burning off any dust or cobwebs that had gotten inside. In addition to all of the demo work, Frank had been busy with his plans. One change from previous plans was to replace the old utility room sliding window with a larger picture window similar to what would go over Amy's new built-in desk. As nice as the plan changes were, we were far from settling on what the final floor plan would look like. Jeff also provided us with updated cabinetry drawings and pricing, and those drawings would also see significant changes later on. In addition to the house's numerous areas that featured drop ceilings, the kitchen, the entryway, and the two bathrooms, the original design had a constricted area in the hallway before you reached the bedrooms and hall bath area. They lowered the ceiling and had framing on each side of the hallway, making it look like a door frame but without a door. As I mentioned in earlier segments, the house uses truss construction, so we were stuck with 8-foot high ceilings. We didn't understand the reason why the original builders had wanted to squeeze this limited space down even more, but it would all be coming out. Also in the kitchen, we were not going to miss the side-by-side skylights that had a southerly exposure. During most months, the sun would come glaring through those windows and raise the temperature in the kitchen to much higher than what we wanted. The twin tube-type fluorescent light fixtures on each side of the skylights was also something that we would not miss. On Wednesday, I had sent Frank an image of a casement-style window that we could use for better egress in the event of a fire. The two windows in the smaller bedrooms would have been a challenge for even a person with both legs to get out of. They were sliding windows, but the bottom section slid upwards in the frame, and it was hard to open and close. Plus, there was an outside screen attached. Not only would it have been hard for egress, but like all sliding windows, part of the frame goes right through the center. In this case, sitting in my office and looking out at the view meant that a horizontal metal frame was right in the center of my view. With a casement window, there is a little crank that you turn and the entire one-piece window opens outward and then swings to the side. Frank's response is that he liked casement windows and had planned to use them in the master bedroom as well. And speaking of the master bedroom, as far as egress to escape a fire was concerned, it was not up to code. It had a tiny window set high on a wall that most able-bodied people would not have been able to squeeze through. Back when the original house had been built, there was no sunroom at the time on the rear deck, so the sliding window leading out to the deck provided a sufficient path to escape from a fire. But once the sunroom was installed, that path to the outside was closed. Two new casement-style windows would remedy that oversight. That wraps up another week of our Epic Remodel project. Thank you for watching Life on the Straight, and please consider subscribing, which is free, to stay abreast of new content.